just tuned it in.
Global and worldwide.
Hitting you on the one with no delay. Because it's the Fighter's Voice.
The Fighter's Voice.
With your fighting host, Richard Ortiz.
And the formidable co-host,
Mr. Cole Escovedo. Remember, every fighter has a voice.
Fresno, California. We're live here in Mad Production Studios. Rich Ortiz, your host of The Fighter's Voice. My co-host, UFC veteran Escovedo. He's tied up right now. He's actually at a train as we speak, so he's going to make a dash inside. We got a great show for you this afternoon at a special day and time for the one and the only. Man, I just want to introduce her and get going because she has that mommy life going. I'm talking about a full schedule, and that's Top-Ranked Boxing's host, commentator, the one, the only, our guest, Crystina Poncher. Welcome to the show, Crystina.
Thank you guys for having me once again. Always a good time. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's our pleasure to have a super guests like you that are down to earth, and I always have a great, fun conversation.
Thank you. You get what you give.
Yeah, exactly.
Good conversation.
Exactly. And you know what? Let's jump right in. Let's talk about your busy schedule. I mean, we were going back and forth texting, and you were just telling me, Richard, I have fight meetings going on. We have the fights, mommy life, and we'll still make time for the Fighter's Voice. So we appreciate that. Tell us about your work schedule now that we're in this bubble, so to speak.
Yeah, it's obviously very different because typically when I'm on the road working a fight week, I do bring my son or my mother along with me quite often, but we're on the road, we have a lot of time to just focus on the work that we have to do. But now, being that we have fights 2 times a week and I'm calling them remotely from a studio and also having fighter meetings, it's like 4 days a week. We have fighter meetings Mondays and Wednesdays for like about 3.5 hours with all the fighters because we don't get to sit down with them face to face. So we have Zoom call fighter meetings, and if you have anywhere from 4 to 6 fights, that's 8 to 12 fighters, and they each get 20 or 30 minutes. So it's a quite long process. And then we have fights 2 nights a week, anywhere from 4 to 6 fights a night, and that's a 3-hour process. Plus you get there 2 hours early to prepare and test and get everything together. Then you're coming home. I'm still a wife. I'm still a mom. It's cooking dinner. It's doing these Zoom calls while my son is running around the house. It's it's driving back and forth. So it's quite a different dynamic. But we're 5 weeks in. Nobody's. My husband doesn't want to divorce me. My son still loves me. I still have my job.
There you go.
I think I've been able to manage it pretty well. But it's definitely a different circumstance than when I'm out on the road and I get to focus a lot more on just the work aspect.
Well, are you ready to go in the bubble? You're not in the bubble, right? You're recording at home, or are you going outside of a studio, correct?
Yeah, so no broadcasters are allowed in the bubble for now.
Okay.
So no ESPN, like our international crew, none of us are inside of the bubble aside from Bernardo Osuna. So Joe Tess is in the studio at the ESPN studios. Mark and Andre and Tim are all at home. And then myself and Chris Algieri are calling it from a studio in Southern California. So we're all remotely calling it fights for now. It maybe will change in August. But we're not really sure what the schedule is going to be or how things are going to resume after our last scheduled fight on July 21st.
Well, I mean, there's advantages of being at home. I mean, look at Timothy Bradley last night, man. I mean, he made me hungry. He made a sandwich right on the air, a sandwich with bacon.
See, I don't get to see that.
He did.
After when I get on Twitter, because Chris and I are calling the fights at the same time as they are for our international audience.
Right.
So we have our broadcast going while they're broadcasting. So I don't get to see or hear their broadcast until if I come home and record it and watch it the next day. But I see clips on social media, and I saw that about his breaded bacon sandwich, and I was just like, oh, my God, that's so Tim. That's hilarious. So, yeah, I get to see all that stuff on social media, and there are definitely benefits like that. I'm just waiting for some of these kids to pop up or scream something or hear Baby Shark in the background or something. It's like bound to happen one of these days, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. I love Baby Shark. My granddaughter loves that.
That's my son's jam right there.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We actually had tickets getting ready. I was going to take my granddaughter, but because of this whole virus, they postponed it. They were coming to Fresno. They're supposed to come in April, and Grandpa would have been out there dancing and everything.
That is awesome. That is fantastic. I love hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter sent me the whole dance on YouTube. Said, "Dad, you got to learn it," and I had it down. Really, I wasn't going to post it or anything, but I had it down. Trust me.
I love it. I'm very close to my grandfather. Always have been. He is the best man, and when I hear your grandfather's very involved with granddaughters, so I think that's phenomenal. So kudos to you for stepping up to the plate and being there for your granddaughter. That's awesome.
Absolutely. But let's talk about this entertainment. Let's talk about these events that are taking place with Top Rank Boxing. They took the initiative and they spoiled us, the fans and the viewers and the supporters, every Tuesday and Thursday and sometimes Saturday. Collaboration with the fights in Mexico. We're loving it. What's your whole take on it as a fan? Because I know you're still deep down a fan.
Oh, of course. You know what? I think it's great that we took the initiative as working for Top Rank to go first. Somebody had to do it in boxing to kind of get shows on the road and lay out a blueprint, make some mistakes, find out what's working, what doesn't. And I think Top Rank has always been on the forefront of making some changes and trying to move forward and things like that with what they've done in the sport. And I think this is just another example of that. And would I like to see the best guys fighting the best, and would I like to see great matchups every week? Yes, I would, but that's just not the times that we're in right now. There's a lot of the top tier have big paychecks, big purses, and you're not getting that with no fans. And there's a lot of guys that are not willing to take a fight on short notice, and that's what you're getting right now.
Yeah.
That guys aren't willing to take a fight if they haven't had quality sparring, and there's no travel, and there's a social distancing and a pandemic, and you're not getting quality sparring. So there are a lot of factors. There's guys that want to take the fight, but then their opponents test positive, or a trainer tests positive. So there are a lot of factors and a lot of things that not to even mention injuries and training camp injuries, normal things that come up in making regular fights outside of it being a pandemic. So I think that they've really done a good job. Filling fight cards 2 times a week for 5 weeks now is a lot. And they're at least giving guys that wouldn't have had the opportunity to fight on national television that exposure, and they're putting some money in these guys' pockets to be able to bring home to their family or whatnot. I mean, there's no unemployment really for a lot of these guys. And I mean, there are ways to get aid, but at least I think they'd rather fight. So there's a lot of things that are working, and obviously, we ran into some hurdles in the beginning, losing some main events and co-main events with Michaela testing positive or having a false positive because she tested again, it was negative, or with Jamel, or, et cetera. And we had some really good fights scheduled for the end of the summer that primarily because of injuries, not even COVID related, that fell through. So you got to roll with the punches. It's boxing. So I think overall, to be able to bring our sport back and have it on television 2 times a week during a pandemic has been a great thing for Top Rank and a great thing for boxing if you look at it, as a whole.
You know what I do like is the opportunity through all the smoke and all the speed bumps, the opportunity to these guys like you hit it right on the head that would normally not ever be on national TV, that would never ever fight in front of Top Rank executives and the officials and get that opportunity to shine. You've had fighters they'll lose 1 week, come back a week and a half and be victorious. So I like to see these long-term heroes grow. They get the opportunity, and now they're becoming favorites of Timothy Bradley, Joe Tess, yourself, Andre Ward, etc.
Right. That's so true, because look, I broadcast with Chris Algieri, and he's like, I didn't get a TV fight until I was in a title eliminator, or until I got a world title shot. And these guys, take a guy like Gabriel Morataya, the preschool teacher who was 3-0, getting an opportunity to fight, and now he's like, I got 1,000 fans overnight on my Instagram, from fighting on ESPN and from what the guy said about me. And it's a great opportunity for these guys to build a fan base, because I think one of the most important things in boxing, and Michelle Rosado, Raging Babe, and Bob Arum, and them have spoke about how important it is to kind of build your fan base in your hometown or where you're from, and then those people will travel with you. And not a lot of people are able to do that, and this is a way that they're building a fan base from the start, a lot of these guys, and hopefully these people will be able to watch their journeys and be fans of their careers for many, many years to come. And there's other guys, like we saw in the fight with David Kaminsky and Clay Pollard, that you're like, oh my God, you see Kaminsky just be this highly touted amateur and then turn pro, won all fights, and then it gets caught in the buzzsaw of a guy like Clay Collard who comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to start watching this kid, you know? So it's really been unique to see these guys.
Oh my gosh, what happened here? Hey, we got to pick up that conversation again. Let's go. Live TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, you've reached Christina's voicemail. Please leave a message.
Okay, we'll try it again. Man, she was off on a great story. I'm sure she's going to continue her story once she picks up. We make that connection again.
My goodness. Are you there?
Yes, that was a great story. I was telling everybody, hey, live TV, it happens.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's okay.
What the heck?
It's that mommy life. It's the mommy life.
I would blame it on my son, but it wasn't his fault. But I was just saying, it is, like you said, it's a great opportunity for these guys to show who they are, for their stories to be able to be told, and you know, we've seen some upsets.
Yes.
So not everything goes as planned. There's been some great matchmaking in some of these fights. I'm really testing guys early, so a little bit of everything.
You know what? I mean, you know what? You hit it right there. Great matchups. I mean, these guys are hungry. They've been anticipating. They're waiting to get back in the ring. I mean, Jamal Herring just to test positive, and then now he's cleared to fight. He's going to be defending his bout, I believe. Was it Tuesday? And just his story alone, how he stood in shape and stood inside the gym, and let's talk about Andy Vincent's. I mean, honestly, through a close loss, which I had him winning by a point. I mean, his fan base has went through the roof instantly because of what he showed everybody what he's made of when he was out on his feet in that 6th round to come back, finish the fight, and raise his hands, even though he didn't get the call, but was still there in the fight and just giving us something to applaud.
Right, and that's what it's about. I mean, I'm so sick of fighters and guys that don't want to take risks because they want to protect their own. Like, it's just ridiculous. Some of the best fighters of all time, most of the greatest fighters, have losses. And if you test yourself and it's a hard fought fight and you give it your all, like, there is some winning for losing in that sense, if you get what I'm saying. Like you said, Andy showed grit, he showed heart, he said that he could stand in there, and, you know, everyone knows Andy as more of a boxer, a counter puncher, you know, not high activity, like, but he also showed a hell of a chin and showed that he could fight through adversity, and Andy will become a better fighter because of that fight, and I don't think that people are not going to want to watch Andy, you know, especially at the second half of that fight because he lost. It's not like, oh, I'm done watching this kid. No way. And those are just the kind of things, and the risks that you take, and the people that are taking risks and daring to be great. In a sport like boxing, those things will pay off for them. Look at Canelo now. If Canelo lost to Floyd, and people were like, "Oh, forget it, he lost. Like, I'm never watching this kid. Give me a break." You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Look at him now. So you just got to take chances, test yourself. I'm not saying that Andy fought somebody that's the likes of Floyd Mayweather, but I'm just comparing the fact of taking a loss in your career or early on in your career. Although Andy's kind of at that contender type level, still, I think he'll grow a lot from that experience. And we've seen some great fights, really have, because guys have tested themselves.
Exactly. And you know what? He's scheduled to come on the show this Tuesday and just talk about his experience. He's in good spirits. We went back and forth, and he's in good spirits. You know, deep down, he felt that he should have got the W, along with a lot of other viewers at ringside and a few other people who let everybody know exactly how they feel. But he's in good spirits. And I'm going to take you back in that 6th round, and I'm going to chuckle just a little bit. You said he had a good chin. His legs were in tremendous shape. There was a couple times, Christina, when you remember the fight, he's kind of kneeling down, but his legs are saying, we're not going nowhere. We're in good shape. So he stood up a couple times. He was out on his feet, but his legs were there.
And it's his conditioning. Rich, if he was not in the shape that he was in, making 130, not a catch weight, not 133, 132, but making it for a 130-pound fight, he preached the whole time before the fight about how great of shape that he was in, how easy it was to make the weight, how his wife and the diet that they've been on, how he used this pandemic as a time to really work on himself and get a leg up on the competition. If none of those things were true, he would have gone down and it would have been over in the 6th round. So kudos to Andy for backing up everything he said in terms of his preparation. I mean, granted, there's guys with iron chins that eat, you know, tacos before weigh-in, but I'm just saying everything that he did helped prepare him for that moment, or those moments, because that round, I mean, it could have been stopped in that moment.
I agree.
A different referee or a different corner. A lot of people scored that a 10-8 round, despite it not being a knockdown, which had, maybe a draw here or there or closer than, it could have been. But either way, I mean, kudos to Andy for biting down on the mouthpiece and then coming back and winning a lot of those later rounds. So
exactly.
I'm proud of him for what he showed.
And so am I. And you know what the cherry on top is that post-fight interview. Handled it with class like a true champion inside and outside of the ring.
Yeah, I think he showed a lot of maturity. I know that after the loss to Albert Bell, there was a lot of back and forth with the announcers, the fans. He wanted validation from everybody because of how he saw things and was pulling highlights from calling fights, saying they didn't call this punch, they didn't call that punch. It was a lot of blaming everybody else, and I honestly didn't feel like Andy took a lot of responsibility upon himself as the fighter in that situation. And that's just me being completely honest. But it was a different Andy from what I heard before the fight and how he carried himself after despite not agreeing with the decision. We did see him post, his thoughts about winning the fight and going back and watch the tape and stuff on Instagram. He's, like I said, a lot of people had him winning the fight, but I do like the growth and maturity that I've seen on him, that I've seen in him more recently. And he's got a lot of books that have helped him in this pandemic to think about things differently. He's listening a lot more to his management, to his coaches, to his trainers, not just, in one ear, out the other. So I think he's growing as a man, and that's only going to help him as he moves forward in his boxing career as well.
Absolutely, but I'll tell you what, it has everything to do with it. It's his wife. Settle him down. I mean, he got married. He has just matured, and he talks about wanting to do other things besides boxing. Once after he wins a bout, he wants to get into law enforcement and so on. But I can't give his whole story away. We'll save that for Tuesday. But I do want to change it up.
Save that for his show.
Exactly. I want to change it up just a bit, and I want to know what's your take on this back and forth. And I wanted to ask you about this Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya. Is it a ploy? Is it true? Is he going to make things work? What's your whole take on this? I mean, I'm asking you because you're deeply involved. I know it's a different network, different promotion, but what's your take on this, Crystina?
I mean, I haven't really delved into the situation too deep. I mean, I read Ryan's tweet and what he thought. I've read some of the banter back and forth on Twitter. I do agree that if you're going to demand a certain amount of money or expect a certain amount of money, you kind of want to have some receipts as to why you deserve it in terms of things that you've accomplished or things that you've done in the boxing ring. I remember, and I will not name the fighter's name, but I remember there was a fighter who was shopping different promoters. He was turning pro, and he asked for $1 million signing bonus. And Bob Arum, okay, he's been in the cave how long? He looked at him like, okay, until you show me something, you're not making him $1 million as a pro, okay, no matter how good of an amateur you are. And he kind of just shrugged him off, and Top Rank decided to go another direction, and so did he, because he did not get that. But it's just, show me something. And I think that's the whole argument with Ryan Garcia, is that he's showing you his presence, his star power, his social media following, and I think that works for YouTubers and guys like Logan Paul and things like that to try to justify perhaps why they should get an opportunity. But I do think it's important that you accomplish something within your sport before you really try to extort a certain amount of money. And like I said, I can't speak fully. I don't know the parameters or the inside conversations of it, but if they can't agree on something, and it's just going to be a volatile, hostile relationship, and he's not going to fight, and he'll sit on it. I mean, you don't want to see another situation like Mikey Garcia. What happened with Top Rank, and there's multiple sides to that story as well. But Ryan's a good fighter, and he has potential to be a great fighter, and we just want to see him fight. So if it's not going to be under Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, if they can't work it out, then they need to come. Hopefully, they can come to some amicable split, and he can go elsewhere. And somebody's got to be willing to give him what he wants, or he wouldn't be asked to be let go. Because if you kind of got to know what's on the other side if you're asking for a release.
Exactly, I agree. Well, that sums it up. Now, what's your whole take on Shakur Stevenson just giving up his bout and saying, you know what, I want to move up now. I want where all the big dogs are in the hottest division right now, 130s, 135s. What's your take on this?
I think it's great, and I think it was something that we saw coming for quite some time. I mean, he made it clear that if he wasn't going to get the unification fight with Morrington at 126 pounds. And he made this clear when he was supposed to fight Mariaga before the pandemic canceled everything, that his body and himself and his growth was ready for 130. And he fought at this bench weight in the first fight on ESPN in the bubble. I think he felt really good having a couple extra pounds and just decided, you know what, I'll start, my legacy of art. I am a champion. I'm okay with letting this go because I believe in myself and my confidence level to accomplish the same thing at 130 pounds. And I give him all the credit in the world for calling out or saying that he wants Miguel Burchell. And it's not anything personal. It's just the fact that if he thinks that that's the top guy, the toughest challenge at 130 pounds, Shakur is one of the most competitive people that I know, aside from, Bud Crawford, Andre Ward, some of these, these guys. And it does not surprise me whatsoever that he would say, I'm going to just go right for this guy, and being Burchell. And to be honest with you, I don't know how much longer Burchell can make 130 pounds.
Yeah,
because he's a big 130-pounder. He may be up at 35 real soon as well. So it may not even be a situation where they can agree on terms before Burchell just decides to move up as well.
No, very, very well said, and it does make sense. I believe he's going to go after multiple belts and do it now that he's young and just make some power moves. And if he gets the unifications, so be it. If he doesn't, he's going to continue to grow because his body is maturing. And, yeah, he looked powerful. He looked strong.
Yeah, he does. And you could tell that by the pictures at the weigh-in and how he just looked physically in his last fight. And I think that selecting a belt at 126, earning a belt at 126, I think that his real legacy and where his real dent in the sport will be made is at 130 pounds and higher. I mean, he could probably end up a welterweight at the end of the day, when all is said and done, because he's got a solid frame. And I feel like from when his pro debut to when I last saw him recently, like his body has just gotten wider. He's just filled out a lot more. Granted, he was 19 years old and now he's 21, or 22. So he's one of those guys that he has a skill set. His body's growing, and the power is the only thing that I think it's going to be, really tested. Miguel Burchell is just super strong and just throws so many punches. And Shakur has not faced anybody like Burchell as a professional yet. But I think it's great that he's willing to test himself. And I think it's a fight he is capable of winning.
Yeah, absolutely. He has. He has a great team behind him. Very athletic, very strong. Has everything in young, fast. Has everything. The total package. The experience will come as he takes these fights, and to say and ask for these big names. That says a lot, especially where we're at today, when we have a lot of fighters that really don't want to cross paths right now.
Sure, or test themselves. Just like we were talking about earlier, I think it's great. He doesn't want to move up, and should he take one fight against another, maybe contender at 130 before he goes to a champion? Sure. Yeah. But he trusts in his ability so much that he's willing to go right for a champion, and kudos to him. And I think that sometimes, even if you come out on the losing end of something like that, people respect the fact that you at least tried to test yourself and you just went for it.
Exactly. I'm going to talk about another fighter that wants to test himself, that has a game plan, and I don't know if it's going to work out the way he wants it to work out. I think there's going to be some moves that are moving even faster, and I'm talking about Jose Ramirez. He's been in the news with even a message to Teofimo. He made a statement. He wouldn't go the distance with me. Finally, Teofimo reacted and said, okay, well, we're friends, but, now it's on. I don't see that fight taking place, but he's always said he wanted to move up to 147 and fight Crawford. He said it a couple times, and it wasn't until recently when Crawford finally responded and said, hey, if you want to move up, I'll give you your first L. Jose Ramirez, he's right in the middle of all this steam of 140 in future would be 147. And what's your take on the direction he's going now?
Yeah, I think that it's his body, and if he feels comfortable still at 140, I still feel like he has a couple things that he can do and accomplish there. He has his mandatory against Postal, which has been postponed twice. That's going to be a tough fight. It looks like late August. That'll be scheduled, and that's not an easy fight for him. No. And then hopefully the unification fight against Taylor. He's got that's the fight that I know that he wants, that Top Rank wants. That's why they signed Josh Taylor. You got both of these guys putting both of their belts on the line for unification. So that's 2 fights before you're even talking about possibly a fight with Terrence Crawford up at 147, unless Jose feels that after the Postol fight, he just cannot make 147 anymore, and it's not worth trying to defend those belts or unify those belts and then moving up. I mean, that's like, we're talking at least a year from now of that fight being possible, and who knows where Crawford is at that point. You know, hopefully making the fight with Errol Spence and you taking care of somebody else at 147 pounds. So I get why Jose is mentioning Terrence, because they have the same promoter, and that might make sense. But realistically, by the time he gets to welterweight, I'm curious to see kind of what the situation was with Crawford at that time. He even himself, Crawford hinted at fighting at 54.
Yeah, I can see that happen too.
Situation would be so. We'll have to see how that goes. But I think it would be a great fight.
Hey, that question was coming in from all the Jose Ramirez fans. They were all. I kind of summed it up for everybody because that was 5 questions in one. Trust me. I mean, because this is Ramirez territory over here in Fresno, California.
Yeah. No, I mean, but if I know Jose well enough, he doesn't look past any opponent, and he has a world title challenger in front of him, and Victor Postol, who's tall, lanky, has good boxing ability, he's a good counter puncher, uses his jab well, so he's going to have his hands full with Victor Postol, and then hopefully, I hope if he wins that fight, we can see a unification fight. But I don't want Jose to get caught up looking too far ahead, because he's got 2 very tough tasks in front of him if he stays at 140 pounds.
I agree with you. Now, I'm going to ask you this. It's somewhat of a tough question, but it's, and without being humble, and you talked about, why Top Rank signed Josh Taylor. I mean, why has Top Rank, how can I say this, how have they moved themselves away from the rest, separated themselves as far as being the top promotion as we speak? They're getting all the champions, all the contenders, and strategically to sign another fighter to guarantee that we're going to have that unification bout. I mean, Top Rank is making power moves. This is the company to be with right now. A lot of fighters, they may want to talk themselves out of their contract. I'm keeping it real, because Top Rank is where it's happening right now today as we speak. What's your whole take on that?
I agree with you in terms of kind of leading the way and having the most champions signed, and probably the Top Rank stable has the most talented fighters as a whole. I just think that the thing that Top Rank is lacking is a big pay-per-view star, and that's something that A, there's not a lot of in general, and B, some of the biggest stars and money makers, have been signed by DAZN or have been fighting on DAZN. I just don't think that their stable as a whole is as strong as Top Rank stable is if you break down champion for champion. But it just depends. I mean, as good as the talent that Top Rank has at 140, and the guys have at 35, even at 30, but if you look at a division like 47, they just have Terrence, and that's a big problem. Or at 54, or at 60. So there's other divisions where Top Rank is hurting for talent and having trouble matching some of their best guys. And then heavyweights, Top Rank has signed, some quality heavyweights and even heavyweight prospects and developing them. So I think as a whole, it's just a great place to be, just in terms of the production value, what you get, the guidance that you get, everybody, and the deal with ESPN, being able to still fight on TV.
Yes.
But Fox and PBC have had some great matchups. They've had some great fights, particularly at that 147, 154 pound division. So everyone's got something going for them when it comes to, I just think, to your point, when you go champion for champion and a list of talent, Top Rank right now in that aspect is the cream of the crop. And unfortunate, as we're seeing the tables and the tide turn towards some of these younger guys to be able to have been there for a lot of their pro debuts, and now they're champions. And that's what Top Rank does. I feel like they groom these guys to become champions, and they've been with them from day one versus poaching them from, they have got a couple of guys later like Josh Taylor, etc. But I mean, you look at Shakur, you look at Teofimo, you look at Vasily Lomachenko, etc. from fight one, and now only under 20 fights, and they're world champions. So.
Well, 2 things. I'm going to add. Exactly. 2 things. I'm going to add on this, and I'm going to talk about another fighter that's being prepped and getting ready to hold a strap. But I got to say this, Christina, there's only one Tyson Fury. So enough said. Enough said on that one. I mean, that is the one that holds it all. I truly believe that.
He's an
that
incredible
is
talent.
Yes, he is.
He's an incredible guy to work with. ambassador for the sport, what he's gone through, how he's turned his whole life around, his family
testimony
dynamic,
is powerful.
What he's been through, and how he's trying to give it all back now and inspire other people. I mean, that's that championship mentality. It's not just what you carry when you're inside, that square. It's how you carry yourself day in and day out. And he's really made it a point to live by that, by a championship lifestyle. And when it comes to the heavyweight division, he's the best of the best. He's shown it.
Yes, he has. I want to talk to you about, how do you see the career going with young Gabriel Flores Jr.?
Gabe has a great team behind him, and his father, and now Jake Prince, and the guidance of Rick Meridian and Top Rank. I mean, he has all the tools in his bag, and then him just performing the way that he does in the ring. The sky is the limit for a talent like Gabe Flores, and I know that his father is adamant about and realistic about the timetable for when he feels like his son will be ready to challenge for a world title. And I think they've been very honest. They're not trying to rush him, not trying to push it. He turned pro at 17, didn't get all the, he could have been fighting as an amateur for a couple more years and got some more experience. So he's still learning things each and every fight. But I think that their approach and his game plan and how he's been working on his defense, mastering distance, being a boxer first, are all things that are going to help him not only in the longevity of his career, but are going to help him when he continues to move up. Because as we've seen, power can come. That's maybe one knock people have said about Gabe. They want to see him get in there and finish guys. And I thought about that in the last fight. I was like, okay, I'd like to see him step that one gear higher and get this guy out of there. But at the same time, it's somewhat nitpicking because he won pretty much every minute of every round.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, and then you hear afterwards that he wasn't physically 100%. You're like, okay, that makes some more sense, because we have seen him knock guys out with one punch before, like he did in his hometown fight in Stockton.
Yes.
So it's there, but I think that they go by, slow and steady wins the race, and I think that's what is working for them, and I think they know exactly what they're doing. But he has all the intangibles. He's a great role model. He has a great story. He has a great smile. So I'm a big fan of Gabe Flores, and it's been great to watch his growth and development at this point, and I'm ready to see him get tested against even better competition now that he's gone 10 rounds to see how he can continue to grow, and especially and improve when his body is 100% physically healthy.
Very well said. You hit that one out of the ballpark. That was perfect. And that was a question that was coming in from a lot of supporters from Gabriel Flores. And, a lot of fans are excited. They want him to fight for the belt already. And there's some that really know boxing and know that, it's baby steps. It's a marathon. It's not a race. And, he's still on the job learning. I talked to Gabriel Sr., and he's a very honest person when it comes to training and learning. And he said, Richard, I continue to learn daily, every single day. I haven't arrived yet. I have a ways to go. We have a ways to go. But he has a game plan in place. And, he's very confident, and he does have a great team around him, a great supporting cast. And when you have that around you, it takes up all the pressures. You just need to just concentrate on fighting, working out, and being healthy.
That's it, 100%.
So I got to ask you this. What is it that you've been able to do since the shutdown of Top Rank, since boxing, before we started back up again? What did you embrace that, you finally said to yourself, I finally got time to do this, or, you know what, I never thought about doing this, I'm going to read this book, or I learned how to swim, or I learned something because of the time. What was it that you embraced during this time off and you turned this negative virus into a positive?
Well, for me, it's just being home and being able to spend time with my son. Because when the last few months, even before the pandemic hit, my son's older, getting a little older, where he can walk and he knows his cartoons that he likes and his toys. So he was coming on the road with me less and less, because for having him sitting in a hotel room with my mom for 8 hours out of the day, I mean, I could go for a walk or whatever.
I remember that. I remember that. Your mom was babysitting the first time he came in studio in Fresno.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So as he started to get older, and taking him away from my husband too for a week was challenging. So I had spent quite a bit of time away from him, And so I think the best part of being home and being on lockdown, and it was just being able to focus just on being a mom and teaching him things and cooking food for him and giving him that time with me that he didn't get day to day. And, you know, we've been able to do some things with our house and get our house together, clean and organized and stuff, but just really fully being a full-time mom and being present has been the biggest takeaway. And my son is so smart, and he's learned so much in this time that I've been able to be home. And I can completely see why parents, mother or father, do choose to have a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad to work with your kids. Like, it's invaluable. And I completely get it. And those that are fortunate enough to be able to do it, it is a full-time job in and of itself. Don't get me wrong, but it is huge, and it's been huge in the growth and development of my son. And I think that's been the biggest takeaway for me is when you have the time to put in the time and to put in the work, those brains are little sponges, and you see how much they can learn and grow. So for me, that's been the biggest thing. And I've been able to, you know, study some boxing and stuff a little bit more too, and have conversations and do things like this where I kept my pulse on what's going on in the meantime. Was able to do some interviews with some fighters for top-ranked social media pages, but I think overall, it wasn't like I developed some new crazy skill. I've had all this time to, you know, reinvent myself, but really just being present with my son and my family has been the biggest takeaway and the biggest thing that I've been able to accomplish in these last couple months.
Well, very well said. Listen, I'm going to let you go, but I got to ask you something. It may be out of your element, it may not be. As you know, this Saturday, we have a big UFC fight, UFC 251. I got to ask you, first of all, we have Masvidal losing 20 pounds in 6 days, and you know how tough that can be. He comes from a wrestling background, so he made the weight anyways. Losing that amount of weight, going into a championship fight, what's your take on that? Will he have the full 100% strength? Will he have the energy to go into the later rounds? What's your take on this?
I think he will. I mean, I don't know a lot about these guys. I've kind of been reading up on the situation, and it has started a conversation on boxing Twitter about how many weeks you need to prepare, etc. But especially when you mention his wrestling background, guys like Mike Alvarado or guys like Chris Algieri, who is a kickboxer that I know in other disciplines do big weight cuts. And knowing the knowledge that I've gained from being around nutritionists that are the best in the game, like perfecting athletes, and like I know it's possible and he can still perform. It's more about how well he can rehydrate in time to perform and get himself ready. But it's at this championship level where if he didn't really want to test himself or think that he could accomplish, I think he strikes me as a very confident guy, and so I think that although that was a rough weight cut, I've heard it's not unheard of, and guys have still gone out there and performed. So I expect him to still be ready to go.
Yeah, well, that weight cut was super necessary, and that's one of his hashtags. That's what he lives by, and that's just been his whole theme. You know, he reinvented himself. He's come from backyard brawling, getting the opportunity to fight inside the cage. He didn't always start with UFC, but he worked his way up. And we talked about a loss earlier, and he had some close losses, and he took his career in his own hands, and as if to say, hey, I'm going to bring my two judges with me, and revamped his career and become a better all-around fighter because of those losses. And it's not a sin to lose if you're going to learn and get better. A lot of fighters, like you said, they don't want to risk that and they can never get better. They're kind of stagnant, and they want to ask themselves later, should have, would have, and could have. And I like the fighters that dive right in and that are willing to say, hey, let me test myself. I want to see where I really am in this division, in this boxing world.
Yeah, and then you have the people all around that will be able to make the excuses for you and say, hey, he took it on short notice, or hey, he had to cut this amount of weight, or hey, he dared to be great. But at the end of the day, like, you go in there and perform to the best of your ability, you leave it all on the table, like, they're going to get respect no matter what, win or lose. And I think that that's what a lot of these guys, aside from a paycheck, do it for. So, kudos to him and all of them for going over there. And it sounds like a whole crazy situation. Get on this plane and test as much as they're testing, and it's been interesting to see UFC's take on it. But hey, they started even before boxing did, so they helped kind of pave the way for boxing to return with some of their protocols. So kudos to them for still keeping it going.
Yeah, and you know what? Keep it going. You know what? I'm going to let you go get back to this mommy life. And you know what? Kudos to you for daring yourself to be great every time you're behind the microphone. I mean, I always learn something. I watch you, and you ask the questions that need to be asked, and you respond. I mean, with a drop of a dime. On sometimes you get this fighter that he doesn't want to talk. I mean, there's one sentence or one word answers, but you conduct yourself like a true professional, as you always do. You're down to earth. You made time. I mean, you didn't have to take this interview today. I mean, today you're off, you're relaxing, but we appreciate it here at the Fighter's Voice. You've always shown class, and we always have the utmost respect, and we support everything you do with Top Rank Boxing.
Thank you so much for that. It's always a good conversation. You know, it just feels like you're talking with boxing and, you know, with one of your friends. So I really do appreciate you guys having me on once again. And I look forward to hopefully when we can get back on the road and start having fights again, that we can make that trip up to Northern California, Central Valley, and I can come in the studio once again. So thank you for having me, Toe. Tell everybody I said hello, and send big hugs for me, social distancing hugs, and hopefully we'll see you guys, and, you know, give my best to Cole as well.
I will. I was about to say, that's one heck of a long train, man. It must have been the Cole train. I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just want you to join me.
Give it my best.
I will. Join us with this as we close. Hey, it's always a wrap here, Fresno, California. I'm here with the future Hall of Famer, Crystina Poncher, and it's a wrap. Thumbs up for Richie.
Never down for the count. It's just another wrap. Thanks for listening to the Fighter's Voice Radio Show. Catch us again next week.
Same when, same how.
And always stay connected to the Fighter's Voice on social media. So, on behalf of special guests and the whole crew right here at the Fighter's Voice Radio Show, saying see ya next week, right here on the Fighter's Voice.